Hey everybody, my name is Mike. I am not for Coltrane, and I am sorry to have kept you waiting. Things were a little bit complicated in getting my kid to where they needed to be at the particular time, and we were almost so close to having it all worked out, so it worked fine. But then we also forgot something important back here at the house and had to go back for it, and it threw everything off. So thank you very much for your patience if you are indeed still there watching online, even though it is definitely not 12:30 at this particular moment. So yes, despite our 10-minute late start, I believe things are still functional, so that my words and my audio and my video are both going out over the interwebs. Hi, I'm a little scattered at the moment. Today is, yes, this is your Coltrane Tuesdays for this, the 5th day of July in the year 2022. I said in the promo that I was going to talk about. This is, these are times that are challenging for a lot of us, in all sorts of ways, and it's got me thinking. Since I haven't talked about that a lot on the show recently, thinking about how, what I want to express or what I want to communicate, and so bringing back welcome to my own stream. Yes, functioning from here. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate that. Yeah, so thanks. It got me thinking about a song I wrote a little while ago that I haven't really revisited, but I thought could use a little refinement, and we'll see where things go. So that's happening, and also we will play, of course, a round of the Not for Coltrane Stump-the-Band game. It occurs to me that I should have taken a minute to actually come up with some other things to talk about in terms of events that are happening in the near future, and I didn't. So yeah. But yes, the Not for Coltrane Stump-the-Band game. The way that works is people who are live online with us will be able to give me a song request right there through the chat on the live stream if you're on Facebook or on YouTube. And then I will have to respond to that request regardless of whether I know the song that you have requested. So if you do pick a song that I happen to know, I definitely won't have rehearsed it, but I will do my best to go ahead and play it. If you request a song that I kind of sort of know, like I've heard it a bunch of times, but I've never actually tried to perform it before, I will try to figure out how to do so here in front of you. And if I don't recognize the requested song at all, I will have to make up a brand new song right here on the spot with the same name as the song that was requested, thereby technically satisfying the requirement. That is how we play the Not for Coltrane Stump-the-Band game. So now is a great time to get in your requests for the Not for Coltrane Stump-the-Band game, because there's a bit of a lag between when you put in the request and when I will see it on my monitors over here. Oh hey, we've got people over on Facebook. We've got people on the other. Oh, all sorts of fun stuff is happening right now. Okay, cool. There we are. Move that so I can see. Okay, cool. Right, good. Okay, so we need to start with the song, which in my classic fashion is under rehearsed, but that is okay. The song is called "We Are Marching." So for quite a while, Tom Cooney and I had been going back and forth. Tom Cooney, who's also a singer-songwriter here in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. Tom is also has some connections with the Philadelphia parts of the Philadelphia singer-songwriter community, and we've been doing some stuff on Rock in the Valley and all sorts of things. He and I have been going back and forth with songwriting challenges to each other. I was calling it the Tom Cooney Songwriter Challenge. He was calling it the Not for Coltrane Songwriter Challenge. And I believe for this particular one, he had challenged me to write a song that involved all 5 senses that we usually think of. It's sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, as well as some kind of movement. And what I ended up putting together was something that it was designed to, sure, I'm still adjusting my tie here, what kind of draws on the sort of the folk music, as Dave Fry calls it, the folk music scare of like the 60s, the protest song, the sort of thing that Pete Seeger was doing. And I think there's very much a need for that kind of engagement. And so that was where my head was. That there's need for that kind of engagement in our society, and I was thinking about how to kind of foster that musically. And this is what I came up with. So we are gonna see how this goes. All right. I think that is largely functional. That is, yeah, all right. So, given my somewhat addled state, we will see how this goes. The song, like I say, is "We Are Marching," and then I'll say some more things about it afterwards. So let's see.
Can see
are marching could use a little more rehearsal, as is usually the case with me. But yeah, there you go. We Are Marching, written sometime back in, oh, she's probably a year and a half, maybe even 2 years ago, as part of the Tom Cooney Songwriter Challenge. One of the bits that that you probably recognize is what is often referred to as the Bo Diddley beat. The bop, 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 bop. Bo Diddley was not the first one to use that beat, but he certainly popularized it, and that can be very closely associated with him. Another song you've heard, I Want Candy, which I think was from the 80s. Another song that uses that sort of thing. When I was coming up with inspiration for that song, I heard my kid, who's a percussionist, play something that made me think of that. Oh, and so it's a variation on the Bo Diddley beat that leads off the last one. It's bop, 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 bop. And yeah, that's kind of cool. That's different. It has little unresolved tension in the rhythm to that, and yeah, so sort of all of the things. And also very clearly written with the sense of to make it relatively easy to sing. There's lots of repetition. It in fact that idea where you have the first, second, and fourth lines are all the same in some way, and then there's a variation on the third. There's a very, very, very old tradition in spirituals, in African American spirituals, in European Christian music. So lots of traditions that it's sort of drawing on there, and obviously the idea that you can make up additional verses for it. We are doing something else in this land, and just whatever little couplet you want to stick in there for the third line. So the idea that it can evolve and grow as situations change, and we have other things that we want to sing and organize and talk and march about. And of course, also, I was writing this around the time of the Black Lives Matter protests and things we're thinking about with the murder of George Floyd, and yeah, so lots and lots and lots and lots of things to consider. We have a tendency, yay percussionists, we have a tendency to be inspirational. Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for that, Beth. Here's to you. So yes, I think something that is worth thinking about. I haven't said anything in the wake of the very intense run of decisions coming out of the U.S. Supreme Court the other week, including, of course, the overturning of Roe v. Wade after something like 50 years of that being the law of the land. And I guess kind of what I've been thinking about is, okay, so what does change look like? How does change happen, and how do we be part of change if that's what we're looking for? Any kind of society, and certainly including here in the United States. We're thinking about history. We're thinking about what this country means coming off this Independence Day weekend. Any society, certainly including ours, is the strongest thing, the strongest pull is always towards the status quo. If things proceed on just sort of the way that they are, that's what's going to happen. Things are not going to change dramatically. The only thing that can overcome that sort of inertia is if a critical mass of people are really, really, really focused and engaged on something singular for a very long period of time. And that is true from everything from the civil rights movement up through, how the Republicans have reshaped the federal judiciary. And, whether you agree or disagree with any things that people have accomplished that way, it's easy to think of, people just showed up to march on Washington and, on that one day, and we sang some songs, and Martin Luther King Jr. gave a really cool speech, and then suddenly there was the Voting Rights Act. No, no, that was a long period of time of organizing, of holding together various parts of a coalition that didn't always agree on goals or tactics, um, and keeping that sustained focus there for a very long time, that culminated in something like the March on Washington, which and culminated in something like the Voting Rights Act. And similarly with Republicans in the federal judiciary, it's not just, this decision came down one day and then Roe was gone. It was a decades long project to reshape voting districts and reshape how the U.S. Senate works and what are the norms or what people are allowed to get away with in the U.S. Senate in terms of how they fill Supreme Court justice seats that resulted in this. So if we want change, and I think a lot of us do, the question is how do we get there? Well, we got to be in it for the long haul, and I think part of it too is we can't, just because of human nature, we as humans are not wired to hold super intense emotions for a really, 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 really long time. And so we saw, like I say, we saw all the Black Lives Matter protests the other summer, and certainly it shifted a lot of people's perception. And also there wasn't a whole lot of actual policy change that came out of that. And if, so how do you get there, right? It's a critical mass of people who are sustained and involved with a particular issue over a long period of time. So I think the challenge for all of us is, okay, so what are the handful of issues that I want to engage with or that I want to hang on to? So for those of us who aren't super engaged, all right, how do we pick one? Right? How do we pick one or two and just hang on to that? And we send emails and letters and phone calls to our elected representatives, or we show up at marches, or we work with other people to organize. I think a critical thing is nobody else is coming to save us. There's not any other, and there's not anything that's just going to come in and swoop in. We all have to think of ourselves essentially as activists. And so if we are all activists, what does that look like for each of us? Which doesn't mean that every one of us can do everything, because we certainly can't. And maybe I'm passionate about 24 issues, but I've got to pick, 2 or 3 that I'm most passionate about and that I'm going to sustain most of my effort on. So if you are already engaged, that's really, really cool. Is there a possibility to engage on one more thing? I think that's what we're all asking. That's what we all need to be asking ourselves. Certainly what I'm asking myself is, what else can I do to become more engaged and more active and more of a force for change? So there you go. I will post some links afterwards to some things people can do. There's an app, I believe, called 5 Calls, which has pre-written scripts even that you can call up an elected representative, and it has the phone number and it has a thing to say to them. Say, I am in favor of the legislation that would enshrine a particular right in law, or I'm in favor of shoring up the postal service, or I'm in favor of improving access to voting. And you can just make those 5 calls every day or every week to a bunch of different people, and we can try to move the needle. So certainly people who are watching also, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching afterwards, if you have suggestions of other resources that people can use to help connect with others, to support other people. All of us have limited time and limited attention and limited emotional stamina. So, all right, how are we going to use that to do important things? There you go. So, all right. So let's move on to the Not for Coltrane Stump-the-Band game. In case you missed the late beginning of the show, the way that works is people give me songs, requests, and I have to respond to them regardless of whether I know the song. People might request a song that I do know, in which case I will go ahead and sing it and perform it. People might request a song that I sort of know, like I've heard a bunch of people do it at open mic, or I used to listen to it on the radio 25 years ago, or I have it on a CD somewhere, and it's at one point was in heavy rotation, and I heard it a bunch of times. I will then attempt to figure out how to play that particular song here in front of everyone. If someone requests a song that I do not recognize at all, I will have to make up a brand new song right here on the spot with the same name as the song that was requested, thereby technically satisfying the requirement. That is how we play the Not for Coltrane Stump-the-Band game. I believe we are seeing... we should see... Oh, that's also a good suggestion. All right, so I will respond to some comments in just a moment. While people are getting in their Stump-the-Band requests, I will also say the same thing I mentioned last week, because I still remember most of those details. Godfrey Daniels Day is coming up at the end of Musikfest. Musikfest 2022. The 10 days, really, there's a preview night on the Thursday before, so now it's like 11 days, spanning the north and south side here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It is, I think, the largest free music festival in the country. It is pretty cool. There are ticketed events, but there's also all sorts of amazing performers from all over the country and all over the world, and quite a few from here in our backyard, here in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. And there are lots and lots of cool performers who are there, so you absolutely should go check it out. It is lots of fun. And on the final day of Musikfest, Godfrey Daniels, the wonderful little listening room concert hall here, a concert venue here in Bethlehem, PA, which is just a little bit older than Musikfest, having started in 1976. Godfrey Daniels does the programming for the Liederplatz stage on the final day of Musikfest for Godfrey Daniels Day. Liederplatz, of course, is the one in the Sun Inn courtyard there, across from McCarthy's Red Stag Pub and the Joint and the Sun Inn. And yeah, it's very, very cool. Godfrey Daniels has put together a wonderful lineup of performers. The headliner, I believe, is Peter Karp. And I've been to one of his shows at Godfrey's, which was a lot of fun. And I'm very happy to mention that I will be leading things off. So Not for Coltrane is the opening, is getting things started on the Liederplatz stage on the 14th of August at Musikfest. So I hope to see you there. I will then stick around and will MC for the rest of the day, so it'll be a lot of fun. So definitely go check out godfreydaniels.org. It has a list of all the performers who will be there for Godfrey Daniels Day. And yeah. All right, so various things. I hear there's a great opener for Godfrey Daniels Day. Thank you very much, Beth. All right, let's see what we have here coming in on the comments. We've got some folks online on Facebook. We've got some folks online on the YouTube. Let's see. Beth has pointed out I should link Terms by Iliami because it's relevant to the discussion. That is true. Iliami also performing at Musikfest this year. Iliami, Ilyaimi, stands for I love you and I miss you. I've been friends with Rob and Heather from Iliami for like 25 years, probably pushing 30 years soon, which is very, very cool. Kristen, I've known Kristen also in Iliami for quite a long time. So they're playing at Musikfest, and they have a very cool song called Terms, which I have previously covered here on this channel. I should learn how to play that again, and I should do that again at a show coming up. And also, Beth has put in a request for the Not for Coltrane Stump-the-Band game, specifically Gravity by John Mayer. I think we've had discussions about John Mayer before, and how I don't know very much of John Mayer's music. So, yes, tuning. Gravity. What am I going to say about Gravity? This is one where I know very, very little. I mean, like I've heard the song before. There's something on my guitar that is rattling in the headstock, and that is going to continue to annoy me. Perhaps by this time next week, I will have replaced all of the tuning machines on my thing. It's been on the list of things that needs to do. All right. Wait. Wait. So, Beth, yes, Beth is remarking that we have had these discussions about John Mayer. Oh, it's a pun. It's a pun because Beth then said it sucks regarding gravity. And I think that was a pun, possibly about the way that gravity just pulls things into itself. Or that large, massive objects suck things in. Let's see. So the bit that I remember is gravity, gravity, da 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 da. This probably rhymes with gravity. It keeps on pulling me. Gravity gonna make a fool of me. Gravity always wants to drag you down. That's right. But really, also, where would we be without it? I mean, there'd be, I think, even more problems if we didn't have this force. All right, so let's see. I think that's going to be the gist of it, and I'm going to just do the. Says, she expected that I wouldn't know it, but if I get a similar feel, she'll be thrilled. Well, I think what I'm coming up with has kind of a similar feel. So we'll you can adjust your level of enjoyment or excitement as appropriate. I think I have kind of enough of a basic idea of what I'm going to do musically. As we've established before, the harmonica is a great way to stall for time while I'm trying to come up with words, so I'm going to add that because it'll give you something interesting to listen to while I am trying to figure out what else I'm going to sing. Let's see, and I feel like this is kind of like I don't need a whole really fleshed out narrative for where the song's going to go lyrically. It can be the lyrical stalling device. Yes, it can be. Yeah, I think it can be just sort of like about the feeling of being weighed down. The feeling of being weighed down, and then sort of whatever emotional bits sort of resonate with that is what I will go towards. All right, so here we go. Some vague approximation of gravity in the style of John Mayer. get so tired being held down, so tired, pulled to the ground. Gravity, so I cannot see. Gravity indulged in me. Pulling all the light into that black hole. I can't get around. Nobody knows. Gravity keeps this planet in a line. Gravity always at the front of mind. Keep us spinning around, spinning through space. Keep us spinning around to the end of all days. Gravity always pulling on me. Gravity pulling on the mountains and the seas. Making rocks fall, make that rain pour down. Make it all go deep in the ground. Gravity seems kinda important to me. Gravity kind of important to me. Without this pulling down, where would we be? Floating all around in space, out to eternity. Gravity is always pulling on me. Gravity pulling on me. Believe the equation is its inverse square of the mass and the distance. All that inertia causing resistance. Gravity, oh, it sounds like physics to me. Gravity, it's all physics to me. Some say you can think of it as the curvature of space-time. Curvature of space-time. Nothing actually moves in a line. Gravity is always pulling on me. Gravity is always pulling on me. you go. That, yeah, Gravity. I suspect the original song was less about physics, but you never know. So there you go. The musical style of John Mayer with the lyrical style of Wonton Soups. You could say it gravitates toward this idea. Yes. Oh man, there are in fact a lot of cool songs about gravity. There's a song called Gravity by Barnaby Bright, which I'll link in the description as well, because that's also pretty cool. So there you go. Thanks very much to Beth for that request for Gravity by John Mayer. I, of course, will put a link to the actual song by John Mayer, and I will try to look up some of the physics things that I mentioned in like the law of gravitational attraction that people like Newton and Kepler and that sort of thing figured out. Yeah. So anyway, so yes, we are all So what? How do we use the tools and the energy and the connections that we have to make things better? Let's work on figuring that out. I hope that you will join us for some positive musical vibrations with Illy Amy at Musikfest, with the Wonton Soups at Musikfest. I will post the description to when the Wonton Soups are playing at Musikfest. And of course, join us for Godfrey Daniels Day at Musikfest, including Peter Carp Band and Not for Coltrane. Thanks very much to Beth for that request. And things are going to also be a little scattered next week, because the same scheduling challenge is going to happen then. But we'll see. Here's hoping that next week for your Coltrane Tuesdays, I will actually be able to start. Yay, physics! Thanks, Esme. Hopefully that I will be able to start at the appointed time of 12:30 for next week. So we'll see how that goes. But until then, my name is Mike. I'm Not for Coltrane. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I will see you here next week.